The Book of Genesis has intrigued scholars for centuries, with some suggesting it chronicles powerful people and mysterious beings like the Anunnaki mentioned in Sumerian tablets. At Premonition, we explore these ancient connections and their potential extraterrestrial influences. The Sumerian Connection. In 1896, scholar Nathaniel Schmidt, who was a professor of Semitic languages at Colgate University, was unexpectedly removed from his post. For 11 years, Schmidt had been imparting knowledge on languages such as Hebrew, Aramaic, Coptic, Arabic, and other ancient languages, making a lasting impact in the academic world. However, it was his bold research into ancient Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian texts that ultimately led to his dismissal. Schmidt uncovered fascinating parallels between these ancient texts and the biblical stories of Adam and Eve, the fall of man, Cain and Abel, the Great Flood, and the Tower of Babel, all of which challenged the traditional biblical narrative. These findings suggested that these stories, which are central to the Judeo-Christian tradition, may have originated in Sumerian texts that were written over 6,000 years ago. At the time, this theory was highly controversial. The late 19th century was an era where the doctrine of biblical inerrancy was becoming increasingly popular, especially in response to the rise of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. The notion that the Bible could have borrowed from earlier Mesopotamian cultures was simply unacceptable to many religious scholars and clergy members of the time. Schmidt's groundbreaking work introduced the idea that the roots of many biblical tales might lie not in divine revelation, but in older, pre-biblical stories from ancient Mesopotamia. By comparing these Sumerian myths with biblical stories, Schmidt's research illuminated a rich cultural exchange and suggested that ancient civilizations may have shared more than just geographic space. They also shared a tapestry of narratives and beliefs. This theory opened the door to broader discussions about the origins of biblical stories and their potential connections to historical events in the ancient world. The Anunnaki in ancient texts. The concept of the Anunnaki, an ancient group of deities or entities described in Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian texts, is integral to understanding the rich mythology of Mesopotamia. The term Anunnaki refers to a pantheon of gods associated with creation, the afterlife, and the natural world. However, what is particularly intriguing is that these texts do not portray the Anunnaki as traditional gods in the theological sense. Instead, they are described as beings that interacted with human ancestors in a manner that may suggest an extraterrestrial origin. In the Bible, stories of divine intervention, such as the creation of humanity, the fall from grace, and the Great Flood, share many similarities with Sumerian accounts. But while the Bible frames these events as the work of God, the Sumerian texts describe interactions with the Anunnaki, beings who were thought to be capable of both blessing and punishing humanity. The idea that the Bible may not merely be an inspired text, but a retelling of ancient, pre-existing accounts suggests that what the Bible describes as divine acts may have actually been encounters with these mysterious entities. Could the Anunnaki have been misunderstood as gods by ancient people? Or might these stories be evidence of early human contact with extraterrestrial visitors? The connection between the Anunnaki and biblical figures like Abraham is particularly intriguing, as the Sumerian texts may provide a glimpse into the origins of Jewish and Christian traditions. The discovery of Sumerian tablets. The story of how the Sumerian texts came to light is as fascinating as the content of the tablets themselves. The first major discoveries of these tablets occurred in the early 16th century during excavations in Mesopotamian regions. These tablets, inscribed with intricate glyphs, proved to be a puzzle for scholars for centuries. Early interpretations of these symbols were largely dismissive, with some scholars even considering them as mere decoration. It wasn't until the 19th century that a breakthrough occurred. In 1835, the British scholar and explorer Henry Rawlinson made a significant contribution by beginning to decipher these enigmatic glyphs. Rawlinson, who worked as a soldier for the East India Tea Company, was stationed in southwestern Iran, where he began his efforts to decode the ancient scripts. He was particularly drawn to the Bastin inscription, a monumental royal proclamation carved into a cliff face, which had been written in 3 ancient languages: Persian, Elamite, and Akkadian. The inscription's cuneiform writing became the key to unlocking the mystery of the Sumerian language. Rawlinson's efforts were pivotal in making the cuneiform script intelligible, and as a result, thousands of cuneiform tablets were eventually unearthed across Mesopotamia, containing records of trade, laws, royal decrees, and myths. These texts, preserved for millennia, began to reveal the complex nature of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations and their connections to biblical stories. These discoveries also deepened scholars' understanding of the cultural and historical context of the ancient world, revealing how interconnected different civilizations were, even across vast distances of time and geography. The enigmatic cuneiform glyphs. Cuneiform, the ancient writing system used by the Sumerians, was one of the earliest forms of written language. It was developed around 3000 BCE and primarily used for recording commercial transactions, legal agreements, and royal proclamations. However, cuneiform also played a significant role in preserving the myths, stories, and historical events that would later inform many religious traditions, including those found in the Bible. The Sumerian tablets that Schmidt and other scholars examined have provided us with an unprecedented window into the distant past. These texts, written in cuneiform, were not merely decorative as once thought, but highly detailed records of ancient life, everything from agricultural practices and tax records to myths of creation and the Great Flood. As these tablets were studied and translated, connections between the biblical narrative and Sumerian, Babylonian, and Assyrian myths began to emerge. For instance, the flood story in the Bible bears striking similarities to the Sumerian myth of Gilgamesh, in which the hero, Utnapishtim, is warned by the gods about a great flood and instructed to build a boat to save his family and animals. With the discovery of these ancient records, scholars began to understand that biblical stories might not be entirely unique to the Hebrew tradition. Rather, they were part of a larger narrative shared by multiple ancient cultures. This realization has had a profound impact on the way historians and theologians interpret the Bible today. Some view these parallels as evidence of shared cultural heritage, while others suggest that the Bible may have absorbed and reinterpreted older stories to form its own theological narrative. Schmidt's continuing research. After Nathaniel Schmidt's dismissal from Colgate University in 1896, his dedication to researching ancient texts did not falter. Despite facing criticism and controversy, Schmidt continued his academic career at Cornell University, where he would spend the next 36 years teaching Semitic languages. Throughout this period, Schmidt remained steadfast in his argument that the cuneiform inscriptions of Sumer Babylonian and Assyrian civilizations revealed stories not of gods or divine beings, but of interactions between early humans and a mysterious group of entities known as the Anunnaki. Schmidt's theories challenged the religious orthodoxy of his time, which regarded biblical narratives as divinely inspired and historically accurate. Instead, Schmidt's research suggested that many biblical tales could be reinterpretations or retellings of Sumerian and Mesopotamian myths, particularly those involving the Anunnaki. Schmidt's continuing research, though controversial, laid the foundation for later scholars and thinkers to explore the potential extraterrestrial origins of the Anunnaki and their role in shaping human history. His assertion that these ancient texts were more about human encounters with an advanced, possibly non-human species, prompted many to reconsider the nature of early human mythology and its connections to the Bible. Schmidt's work, though sidelined during his time, would later inspire future generations to delve deeper into the mysteries of ancient Mesopotamian texts and their implications for understanding humanity's origins. Zecharia Sitchin's exploration. In the 20th century, the theories initiated by Nathaniel Schmidt gained new life through the work of Zecharia Sitchin, a scholar and writer who expanded upon the idea of the Anunnaki's extraterrestrial origins. Sitchin's approach, however, was markedly different from that of traditional academics. A graduate of the London School of Economics, Sitchin was not trained as an archaeologist or historian, but as an economist. This background allowed him to approach ancient texts with an unconventional perspective, which ultimately led him to propose that the Anunnaki were not merely gods, but an advanced extraterrestrial species who visited Earth in antiquity. According to Sitchin's interpretations of the Cuneiform tablets, the Anunnaki came from a distant planet called Nibiru, which he suggested had an elliptical orbit that brought it close to Earth every 3,600 years. Upon their arrival, the Anunnaki supposedly established dominance over Earth, using their advanced technology and knowledge to rule over primitive humans. Sitchin's most controversial claim was that the Anunnaki engineered human beings as a hybrid species, combining their own genetic material with that of early hominids in order to create a workforce capable of serving their needs. Sitchin argued that the term Anunnaki itself means those who came from the heavens to Earth, reinforcing the idea that these beings had extraterrestrial origins. Sitchin's theories, which he presented in his book The 12th Planet, 1976, proposed that the Anunnaki played a crucial role in the development of early human civilizations. His ideas challenged the conventional understanding of ancient history and suggested that what was traditionally viewed as mythology might have been based on real encounters with beings from another world. Sitchin's interpretations opened the door to a new understanding of ancient texts, prompting both widespread fascination and significant criticism. Criticism and popularity of Sitchin's ideas. While Sitchin's ideas gained widespread popularity among the general public, they faced strong opposition from the academic community. Scholars criticized his work for its lack of rigorous scholarly methodology and the speculative nature of his interpretations. Sitchin often relied on his own interpretations of Sumerian and other ancient texts, frequently making connections that were not supported by mainstream academic research. This lack of academic references and the often imprecise nature of his translations led many historians, archaeologists, and linguists to dismiss his work as pseudoscience. Nevertheless, Sitchin's ideas resonated with a large audience, particularly those interested in alternative history and the idea of extraterrestrial influence on ancient human civilizations. His theories tapped into the growing interest in UFOs, ancient aliens, and alternative interpretations of human history. Sitchin's ability to present complex ideas in a compelling and accessible way made his work popular, even though it was often criticized by professionals in the field. Today, Sitchin's ideas continue to have a significant following, with many readers and enthusiasts still exploring his theories about the Anunnaki and their role in human history. The Sumerian Kings List and Anunnaki Influence. One of the most fascinating and enigmatic documents in the study of ancient Mesopotamian history is the Sumerian King List. This ancient artifact, which lists the names and reign durations of Sumerian rulers, offers critical insights into the early dynastic periods of Mesopotamia. While the list might seem at first glance to be a straightforward account of succession, a deeper examination reveals some peculiarities that have sparked much debate among scholars. The most intriguing aspect of the Sumerian king list is the extraordinary lengths of reigns recorded for early rulers. For example, it documents a dynasty that allegedly lasted for 24,120 years, with each king reigning for an average of over 1,000 years. Such durations are, of course, far beyond the lifespans of human beings, leading some scholars to suggest that these figures are symbolic or represent a different system of measuring time. However, when compared with more recent reigns that follow conventional lengths of 6 to 36 years, these ancient records present an intriguing anomaly. Further adding to the mystery is the fact that the list begins with rulers who are described as non-human, beings who reigned for tens of thousands of years before transitioning to human kings with more familiar lifespans. This transition and the inclusion of such extraordinary reign lengths have led some researchers to propose that these early kings might not have been human at all, but were rather the Anunnaki or other non-human entities. This theory suggests that the Anunnaki not only influenced human history, but may have even been the original rulers of the earth before humans assumed control. The mystery of long lifespan kings. The mention of rulers with extraordinarily long reigns in the Sumerian king list has sparked intense debate among scholars, particularly regarding the plausibility of such lengthy reigns. While some interpret these figures symbolically, others suggest that they may represent a different form of timekeeping, possibly based on celestial cycles or other astronomical phenomena. Still, the fact that the list includes both realistic reign durations and these fantastical figures continues to challenge conventional understandings of ancient Mesopotamian culture. What is particularly compelling is that the king list describes a gradual shift from non-human kings to human rulers, with the non-human figures often attributed to the early dynastic periods. This shift raises fascinating questions about the nature of these early rulers and whether they were, in fact, the Anunnaki or other extraterrestrial beings. The idea that these kings were more than human has gained traction among those who believe in the extraterrestrial hypothesis, suggesting that the long reigns may symbolize the prolonged presence and influence of these advanced beings on Earth. As with many ancient texts, the true meaning of the Sumerian king list remains shrouded in mystery, but it undoubtedly offers valuable insights into the beliefs and myths of ancient Mesopotamian civilizations. The list, along with other cuneiform inscriptions, continues to captivate those interested in the connections between ancient myths, biblical stories, and the possibility of extraterrestrial influence on early human history. The Sumerian version of the Tower of Babel. One of the most captivating parallels between ancient Sumerian texts and the biblical account is the story of the Tower of Babel. While the Bible offers a brief narrative of human beings attempting to build a tower to the heavens, the Sumerian version of this tale is far more detailed and complex. According to the Sumerian texts, 50 highly skilled technicians utilized advanced, mysterious technology to send 300 observers to space stations located among the stars. This portrayal significantly diverges from the biblical account, which focuses on humanity's pride and the confusion of language. In the Sumerian version, the Tower of Babel is described not merely as a symbolic structure, but as a stargate, a portal offering rapid access to space stations beyond Earth. This description of a physical structure facilitating interstellar travel challenges traditional interpretations of ancient mythology, suggesting that the Sumerians may have had knowledge of advanced technologies that were far ahead of their time. The idea of ancient civilizations having access to such advanced technologies raises profound questions about the nature of human history and our understanding of ancient texts. Was the Tower of Babel simply a metaphor for human ambition, or was it a literal gateway to otherworldly destinations? These kinds of connections between ancient stories technology, and space travel present opportunities for further investigation and exploration. The duality of the Anunnaki influence. The question of why we haven't found concrete evidence of the Anunnaki, despite their supposed influence on ancient civilizations, is intriguing. Our understanding of ancient human history is still evolving, and discoveries like Homo floresiensis, red-haired giants in North America, and elongated gulls in Paracas challenge conventional ideas of human evolution. These anomalies suggest that other species or subspecies may have coexisted with early humans. If the Anunnaki were involved in shaping humanity, their influence might not leave traditional physical evidence. Their presence could be embedded in myths, legends, or even non-human biological markers, making their detection difficult. The absence of direct evidence could actually fuel interest in exploring how ancient human history and possible extraterrestrial encounters unfolded, defying conventional historical understanding. DNA tests and ancient remains. DNA testing could shed light on the Anunnaki's influence on ancient civilizations, especially if figures like Gilgamesh were hybrids of Anunnaki and humans. Gilgamesh, the legendary king of Uruk, may hold key insights if his remains were tested. In 2003, a team allegedly discovered his tomb in Iraq, but further investigation has not been conducted. DNA analysis could reveal anomalies in Gilgamesh's genetic makeup, potentially confirming hybrid origins and offering insights into extraterrestrial involvement in human history. While the tomb investigation remains unresolved, DNA testing of ancient remains could provide new perspectives on humanity's connection to the Anunnaki. As we dig deeper into these ancient mysteries, we come across a rich history that connects the stories of our past to extraterrestrial influences. Whether or not these beings are still with us, the key to unlocking humanity's true potential may lie in rediscovering our roots and the cosmic origins of our civilization.